to start. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from different parts of the world. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the World Banana Forum webinar on increasing genetic diversity in banana producing systems. This webinar that it's part of a series of webinars being organized by the World Banana Forum. The idea of this webinar, as you can see on the screen, is to discuss the diversity of bananas worldwide, including their distinct agronomic traits, organoleptic properties, nutritional characteristics, and post-harvest behavior. And we gather today experts from all around the world to show these different types of bananas and together to explore the challenges and opportunities for diversifying banana markets and production systems worldwide. So before we start, I would like to provide some meeting reminders. I would like to ask everybody to turn off your microphone when you are not speaking. We have professional interpretation available in English and Spanish, so you can go in the lower tab of the Zoom and select the language of your preference. And the meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available in both in the FAO YouTube channel and also in the World Banana Forum website. We also ask you to raise your virtual hand to speak or post questions and comments into the chat box and in the Q&A table. So as I mentioned, today we are glad to have a great set of experts and value chain actors from all around the world. And the agenda is quite packed, so I also would like to remind to our panelists to stick to the allocated time. So we will start the webinar with the participation of Dr. Sebastien Carpentier. He's from the Alliance of Bioversity International and CIAT, and he will talk about the unlocking banana genetic diversity from global research to sustainable food systems. Following his presentation, we will move to the Philippines. We will have the participation of Gaudencia Lantican. She's a senior scientist from the Filipino Banana Growers and Exporters Association and also represents Dole Philippines. And we'll talk about banana varieties in the Philippines and regional markets. Following this presentation, we will move to India, where we have the pleasure of welcome Dr. Selvarajan. He's the director of the National Research Center for Bananas in India, and he will talk about harnessing banana genetic diversity to strengthen market opportunities in the country. The last presentation from this block will be from the private sector, from Fyffes. We'll have Claudio FInol. He is the Chief Innovation Strategy Innovation Officer of the company, and we'll talk about the challenges and opportunities of diversifying banana markets. Following this set of presentations, we'll have a short questions and answer session where you can pose questions to our panelists. And following that, we'll have a second set of presentations, starting with the senior researcher from Indonesia, Dr. Enny Sudarmonowati, that she will talk about banana diversity in Indonesia, linking traditional varieties, nutrition, and local food systems. This will be followed by the Director of Research of the National Agricultural Research Organization of Uganda, NARO, Dr. Ruboni Tuhumbizi, that will talk about banana genetic diversity as a driver of resilient production in East Africa. And closing the session, before our second block of question and answers, we have the honor to welcome Xavier Roussel. He's the Chief Marketing and Sustainability Officer of Dole, and we will also talk about the challenges and opportunities of diversifying banana markets. Without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Victor Prada, that is the secretary of the World Banana Forum, that will provide the opening remarks. Victor, please, you have the screen.
Yes, thank you very much, Mateus. I'm mindful of the time, so I will go quick so we can stick to the time allocation in the agenda. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our participants today. Thanks for joining us from different parts of the world. On behalf of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished panelists that Mateus mentioned before, together with the agenda, representatives of governments, producer organizations, research institutions, the private sector, civil society, and all colleagues and stakeholders joining us today. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this important discussion on banana genetic diversity and its role in building a more resilient and sustainable banana sector. As you all know, bananas are among the world's most important food crops and the most traded fruit globally. Yet international trade remains heavily dependent on a single subgroup of cultivars, as we all know, that's Cavendish. While this has enabled highly efficient supply chains, it has also created vulnerabilities, particularly in the face of challenges such as fusarium wilt, tropical race 4, climate change, or market disruptions. Beyond Cavendish, however, there's an extraordinary diversity of banana and plantain varieties cultivated across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. For millions of people, these varieties are not only a source of income, but also a staple of food, an important cultural asset, and a key contributor to food and nutritional security. This diversity is not only something to preserve, it's also a strategy or a strategic resource for the future. Different varieties can offer resistance to pests and diseases, greater tolerance to climate stresses, unique nutritional properties, and new opportunities for producers and markets alike. Realizing this potential requires cooperation across the value chain. Researchers, producers, traders, retailers, consumers, and policymakers all have a role to play in supporting the conservation, promotion, and commercialization of a broader range of banana varieties. Today's webinar built on the World Banana Forum fact sheet, developed in cooperation with the Alliance of Biodiversity International and CIAT, and brings together experts from different regions and sectors to share experiences and explore practical opportunities for promoting banana diversity worldwide. Again, thank you for joining us today. I look forward to an engaging discussion and to learning from the valuable experiences of all our speakers and information that they will share. With that, I would like to pass the floor back to Mateus to start the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Victor, for opening the meeting and setting the tone of the discussion. Without further ado, I am pleased to introduce Sebastien Carpentier, that is your first panelist. He is the principal scientist at the Alliance of Bioversity International CIA, where he leads the Global Banana Research Program with a broad portfolio that includes characterizing banana genetic diversity, integrating physiological and molecular approaches to understand stress tolerance, and advancing digital phenotyping and omics technologies to support crop adaptation to challenges such as drought, heat, and disease. And he's also a main author of the fact sheet on promoting banana genetic diversities worldwide. So, Sebastien, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today, and you have the screen.
Thank you very much. So you share from your side, or I share from my side?
As you prefer.
Maybe, yeah. That's okay. It's okay. So let's go. So really, thank you for the introduction. It's a real pleasure to be on this important forum, on this discussion. Yes, we know it's all an important issue. And no, it's not to replace Cavendish, right? But we urgently need more diversity on the markets. We urgently need more diversity in the fields. And next slide, please. So thank you for the introduction, Mateus. So yes, our research program is really centralized around diversity. So as some of you might know, we are proud to have the biggest banana gene bank in the world, more than 1,700 different varieties, all unknown to the world, right? We are familiar with very few. And of course, so that's this very central part of our research, but of course also the management. We do not only need diversity in varieties, in genotypes, but we also need diversity in management. Basically, what we now see in general, to make a long story short, we see monoculture of Cavendish, which is very economically very rewarding, but very, very short-sighted. And so things need to change urgently, again, not to replace Cavendish, but really to produce alternatives to spread the risk of income loss. Next slide, please. So we are proud to conserve and manage those genetic resources, but basically a gene bank cannot be a dusty library. We need to know those books, we need to open them, and we need to know their advantages and disadvantages, because no single variety is ideal. There is always something that can be improved. And luckily, of course, we also have crop improvement. We have breeding programs, classical and modern ones, gene editing amongst them. So it's a problem that getting more diversity on our fields, we need to, no single institute, no single company can basically tackle that on their own. So it's a very challenging aspect, what we are discussing here. And it's a warm call. Let's collaborate. Let's tackle this problem together. Next slide, please. So, of course, sitting next to these precious genetic resources, we had the time to study them, right? And we are looking for, we want to identify varieties, of course, that are, with the buzzword, climate smart, and of course, tolerant, resistant against the major pests and disease. Next slide, please. So a low-hanging fruit in there, and of course a big breakthrough is the whole bioinformatics, the genomics technology, the dropping of the prices to sequence. It's a big revolution because 1,700 varieties, where do you start? A big bottleneck is the phenotyping to discover the traits. So where do you start? Of course, the genetic characterization really helps in that to make us choices and really makes us seeing the unique constitution, which unique meiotic events took place in that individual variety, and what were, of course, the ancestors. Next slide, please. So, okay, what do we do with that, and how do we tackle a very complex aspect as climate change? Next slide. And press again, please, because it's an animation. So if you think that nowadays with the 400 ppm of CO2, that this is like a normal situation, no, it's definitely not. As you see from where we come, we started a little bit over 200 ppm and see how fast the concentration of CO2 basically raises up to where we are now. Next slide, please. You also see that simultaneously, so you have the raise of CO2 concentration, but what is the consequence? The consequence is, of course, that our global temperatures will raise, because CO2 is a gas that really warms up our globe. And so, of course, if you look towards evolution, there has been a huge different range of CO2 concentrations, but let's keep our environment viable, and especially for the farmers, the men and women farmers out there in the fields, especially in tropical countries, if it gets even more hotter, it becomes quite challenging, and not only to work, but also for the plants to grow and the yields to predict, right? Next slide. So one of the tools we have, and that's a very famous study in a Nature paper from our colleagues from Exeter, the group of Dan Beber, that investigated, that simulated what will happen in a certain climate scenario, and basically the temperature raises 4 degrees, and then in future, which countries will really be affected? And you see it doesn't look good, right? Many of the current producing countries will really suffer a lot and will suffer losses. This is, of course, for Cavendish, right? But luckily, we have diversity. Next slide. So we have diversity, and we have explored it, and of course, there in the right under, we have models. Do all the banana varieties react to the same temperature? So do they all have the same optimal temperature? No. Everybody assumes the base growth temperature of banana is 14 degrees. Yes, this is a case for Cavendish, but there's many variability in there. And so we have banana varieties that are really adapted to different ecological or agroecological concepts. So of course we have temperature modeling. We also looked a little bit further. I will briefly talk about it. We only have 10 minutes. So soil water content is, of course, so we have the warming of the global, but what about precipitation? Water availability becomes more and more scarce. How do they react to light, and how do they react to hotter and drier air? Very important aspect also in temperature that gets hotter. Next slide. So that enables us to basically make models and predict the suitability for that specific variety in a certain area. For instance, here in the framework of a Belgian cooperation project for the East African highlands, I'm happy to see that my colleague Roboni from NARO is here, where he will explain everything about the great, nice genetic diversity we have in the East African highlands. But so also, even within the East African highlands, there is variability, luckily, in there. And so we can predict suitability in now and in the future. Next slide. So if you look towards the prediction of what if temperature raises, and you look, that's the light gray curve you see. So we investigate our diversity from the collection, and we see what if our climate is 4 degrees hotter. Then indeed, you see that for the majority of the bananas, they have a negative growth response. So they suffer, right? But as I explained with the slides, the temperature rise is caused by an increase of CO2. So basically, you need to see both aspects together. And when we combine that, when we simulate that in real life, so we have our banana tamer where we really expose the plants to warmer temperatures and higher CO2 concentrations, then you see that the higher CO2 concentrations has basically a positive effect. So the future is less negative. So I would like to bring a message of hope. Yes, luckily we have diversity. Yes, we researchers, we are investigating. And yes, there are alternatives, not necessarily for tomorrow. Like I said, nothing is perfect. But yes, we do luckily have diversity. And future looks less negative than at first sight you think if you only consider temperature. Next slide. So, of course, the water usage and the consumption of water is very important. So that's how we measure it on our in-house online transpiration platform in Colombia. Next slide. And as you can see from this study here, within the wild bananas, they are not studied too much, but within the wild bananas, there's a great diversity in water consumption. You have varieties that have a very high transpiration and can keep that high transpiration for a long time. You have others that have high transpiration and react immediately. You have others that have low transpiration and also react very early. So luckily diversity, next slide. And even if we have a look within the subgroup of Cavendish, there is even diversity. You see that, for instance, Williams has a higher water, relatively per leaf area, has a higher water consumptions than in this case proven Grandin and Valerie. So even within the narrow genetically uniform group of the Cavendishes, we have diversity in water usage as we show here. Next slide. And so what can we do with this? And this is why basically we need more diversity on our fields, because more and more it becomes more difficult to predict the future and to predict the growing seasons, right? And in case the growing season, the dry season, for instance, is more or less moderate as you would expect it, you would need like this high consuming varieties, because the high consuming varieties in general, they grow very well, they're vigorous to grow and have high yields. If you would have in that field, let's say, a more conservative variety consuming less water, in general, they grow slower, they have lower yields. And so in case the dry season is more or less as you expected, moderate, the best choice in that case was the water consuming variety. Next slide. But in case, and you never know, in case the dry season is much harsher this season than others, the high consuming varieties really suffer a lot. Their yields will suffer a lot, while these more conservative ones will also have a bit less. Of course, you have harsher conditions, but they will have like the nutrients and the food security where people count on. And that's why by having variability in your fields and the unpredictability, you basically spread the risk. You don't put your eggs in one basket, which is always very riskful to do. Next slide. But what about diseases? Of course, we all think, next slide, about the most scary disease, because it's really, once it is in your farm, how to get rid of it is quite a challenge. Of course, TR4, and we all know the story. I told it also last time. I will not tell it again. Gros Michel has been replaced by Cavendish, monoculture again. So let's please not make the same story, wipe out Cavendish and replace it by one other one. So that's why we need diversity. And again, I say not to replace Cavendish, but to offer more, to put your eggs in multiple baskets. And if you ask the questions, yes, are there TR4 resistant varieties in your gene bank? The answer is yes, there are. And there's quite some diversity. And it's quite also not a black and white story. So this is a very recently published, let's say, meta-analysis research where we have analyzed which people have used our gene bank accessions and how did they perform in their trials towards TR4 resistance in real life. And of course, the long story short is, yes, we do have resistance varieties. So yes, please order them with us, test them out, and see what works in your case. Next slide. So as I said, I will not go into further detail, but another variety, of course, is also another management. And so we are also developing tools how to guide farmers into that, how to do capacity building, not only into, let's say, keep the disease out of your farm, but also to give management advice. If we bring new varieties, we need new management. We need adaptive management that locally works. And also there we are working on. Next slide. So to end, just I've been talking a lot, but let's show some diversity, right? So what do we have in diversity? And no, this is not generated by AI. This is actually the right one. It's a really very old picture. I took a picture from a picture that was once a basket we literally made just to illustrate how diverse indeed the bananas can look like. Next slide. So a secondary problem that we have is okay, people give names. The banana diversity luckily spread also across different continents because we know, and that's why we have so many Asian participants, that the center of origin of banana is Southeast Asia Pacific, right? And so those varieties, people traveled along with those bananas, and then they also got different names. Gros Michel, Reds, Manzano, Mysore. But next slide, please. Are we sure that we are talking about the same? Because, you know, banana has also somaclonal variation, and what they call Benedetta in one country and Benedetta in another, it's not necessarily the same because it might already be locally selected and it might already be locally adapted. So it's important to also understand how those genotypes behave locally. And that's also why, in the end, nowadays, exchanging genetic resources from country to country is quite luckily restricted now and is dangerous because in the past we have been exchanging diseases. And so this is why we came up with the idea, next slide, for this fact sheets. So how can we make sure that if people evaluate genetic diversity, that we are all talking about the same? So that's why, of course, we have this gene bank, which is the same, which has been conserved and which can be safely distributed towards banana growing countries because it's safely conserved in Belgium, a non-banana growing country, right? And of course, the confusion about the names. So there also in the fact sheet, we have tried to use the genetics and have showed, next slide, please. We have showed the background, just to give you an example from the reds, the background, and we use the genetics to show, look, this is a red. This is clearly the genetic pattern that is unique for a red. In the fact sheet, we discuss advantages, disadvantages, some applications, and so on and so on. Next slide. So we selected a few of them, let's say the low-hanging fruits, which are already locally consumed a lot in certain countries, and which might for sure make sense to start exploring more what can be done. Post-harvest is a big challenge. I'm sure other people will talk about. Next slide. And of course, to end, so that those are the existing varieties. But what if we breed again? So there is so much more diversity out there, and the current breeding programs only use a few individuals, but there is so much diversity in those populations as well, and so much things to discover. Next slide. So that's why you see here that the previous slide was the diversity in the Acuminata species, but there's much more than that as well, and much more interesting traits that we can bring from other species. There is so much richness out there that we didn't explore yet, and this is a warm call again for that. Let's explore together. Let's study together. Next slide. So that's why we also started in collaborations to do collection missions. So we started out there and to start collecting seeds. Next slide is just the illustration of diversity, the slides you can pass on. And so there is great diversity in there, and with local people, we collect the seeds because those don't need to be conserved as in vitro, right? And we started basically a seed collection among those, and this is in collaboration with Mesa Botanic Garden, where we combine two things. So they studied genetic diversity in wild populations because they want to conserve the wild populations. We, from our side, look at it, how can we use that, the knowledge from the wild to in breeding and for crop improvement. Next slides. So that's my dream. That's the end. I really dream about seed systems that are very diverse, locally adapted, locally consumed, and of course, where possible, can also be exported towards other markets where bananas, the climate doesn't allow to grow them. The next slides are just thanking my team, thanking our partners. For sure, we need to do that together. Thank you for listening. And the last slide is a small animation about our fields. You can click and then it's like a drone that flies, where we really grow that diversity in the field, and we're trying to really discover as much as traits as possible and what works locally, what doesn't, which local diseases show up, and what local challenges we have. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sebastien. Thank you very much for this great presentation. I like it a lot what you talk about because you talk about the diversity not only in genotypes but also in management. Other point that I would like to rescue is about the collaboration. No? That is very difficult to tackle all these different challenges alone. So I also would like to call everyone in this call and the researchers, the industry, to collaborate in order to find solutions for these complex tasks using banana diversity. Also very interesting, the diversity even inside Cavendish. I think this point is also interesting. If you have diversity in Cavendish, imagine in all the other genotypes. And of course, that different types of bananas can adapt to different agroecological zones. So again, I would like to thank you. I'm aware of the time. So I also would like to invite attendees to post your questions in the chat box and in the Q&A tab. Let's move in the agenda. So now I would like to welcome Gaudencia Lantican. She is a senior scientist at Dole, Philippines, and also member of the technical committee of the Filipino Banana Grower and Exporters Association, and previously led the executive board of the Philippine Association of Entomologists. Her work primarily centers on pest management and plant health to support market access for tropical crops in collaboration with researchers, regulatory agencies, and partners organizations. Today, she will talk about banana varieties in the Philippines and regional markets. Gaudencia, please, you have the screen. I will stop sharing so you can share your own screen.
Thank you very much, Matthews. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So let me share my slide. Please let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can, but not in full screen mode yet. Now, yes, perfect.
All right, thank you, Matthews. So again, thank you for attending to this webinar brought to us by the World Banana Forum under the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. I will be speaking as a member of the Technical Committee of the Banana Growers and Exporters Association and as a scientist from Dole Philippines Incorporated, a member company of PBGEA. The Philippines is an archipelago of 300,000 square kilometer area, and bananas are planted all over the country. It is one of the most important crops from Luzon to Visayas and to Mindanao, although at varying levels of productivity. Record shows that the areas planted to bananas is at around 500,000 or 451,000 hectares, and most of this is in Mindanao, followed by the Luzon area and in the Visayas. So why highest in Mindanao? Because we have here the Cavendish varieties, while Luzon and Visayas regions experience extreme conditions like 20 to 30 typhoons in a year. And Mindanao is blessed with at least one typhoon every 2 years. So that makes the Mindanao region more suitable for large-scale banana production. So the different varieties of bananas in the Philippines is grouped into cooking and dessert varieties. So you can see that we have for cooking are the tindok and the saba. And saba also has different varieties that is related to saba. So it could be the cardaba, the inabanico, the blue java, utungan, langkitan, dalian, and many more names associated with saba variety. And also for dessert bananas, from the most popular are the lakatan, or we also call binangay. We have the, let me use the pointer. Okay, so we have the latundan, we have the señorita, the morado, the bungulan, we have this ambon and tomok. So different names. Probably in your country, it's a different kind of name like what Sebastien mentioned, but these are the local names we term these varieties. So from the Philippine Statistics Authority data, more than 8 million metric tons of bananas were produced in 2025, and about half of this is the Cavendish, and the other half are the local or native varieties. So you can see that Saba is the most popular and most produced cooking variety, while for dessert bananas, we have our superstar, the lakatan or binangay, then followed by latundan and the other varieties. To the next slide, okay. So here is a closer look of the most popular native variety in the field. And it is common to see bananas planted next to other plants, either fruit trees or intercrop with other cash crops. Like here, the saba is under canopy planting with the coconuts, and even next to other native varieties. So this just shows the importance of banana both in the subsistence and livelihoods of the Philippine farmers. So this Saba banana is known for its robust, blocky, and angular shape. It features a thick rubbery peel that transitions from green to golden yellow and firm, starchy pulp. And this is highly prized in Philippine cuisine and can be prepared both sweet and savory dishes. So next to our superstar is the sub-superstar, which is the superstar for the dessert bananas are the lakatan or binangay. So this is the top variety consumed as dessert, and this has an all-time high demand in the local market. And this is my personal favorite, and it's known for its sweet flavor and firm texture. So this banana is characterized by its bright yellow peel and sweet, fragrant pulp and distinct aroma of the pulp. So the Philippine Institute of Plant Breeding has produced several lines of lakatan via induction mutation, which are now being planted by farmers in the field. So next to our lakatan is the latundan, which is recognized as one of the most common dessert bananas, and it has a compact bunch with fruit peel turning from green to yellow at maturity with sweet, creamy white pulp. So the color of the pulp differentiates latundan from that of lakatan. Then we have the señorita variety. It is also known for its intensely sweet, creamy flesh with a thin yellow-orange peel. So these four are the most popular dessert bananas. And you can easily find this in our local markets. So bananas play a vital role in the Philippines, with saba serving as a staple in Filipino diets. We value this for its ease of cultivation, wide availability, and affordability. You can find saba just anywhere, and it is prized for its natural sweetness, versatility, and rich nutritional value. Saba is important source of carbohydrates, and we all know that. And it complements, or hopefully it can even substitute rice, while native bananas of other varieties also provide a low-cost source of daily nutrition and livelihood for our smallholder farmers and vendors in the local markets. So these are samples of how we transform saba into food items, ranging from the savory preparations to sweet snacks. And this demonstrates the importance of saba bananas, not only as a crop, but also as a key component to Filipino culinary identity. Here are also samples of processed produce out of bananas. So it can also be processed into banana sauce or ketchup, which is a uniquely Filipino condiment. Banana flour is now an emerging product under research by the Department of Agriculture. And saba is also widely processed into chips for both local and export markets. So beyond the fruit, saba has also other uses, and the leaves are used as food drops, especially for native delicacies. So long before we have the aluminum foil and the cling wraps, we are already using the banana leaves as food wrappers. The pseudostem is utilized as animal feed, while plant residues are incorporated into compost to produce organic fertilizers. Yes, we have been exporting to various countries in the world for our Cavendish, and goes with it our native varieties, particularly Saba, Señorita, Lakatan. But still, after more than 50 years of exporting, we still receive a modest volume or modest amount of request or demand from the different markets. And then locally from Mindanao, it is common that, or it is a practice, or it's economic activity, that bananas from Mindanao are shipped or transported to Luzon and Visayas, especially when these regions are undersupplied with their local produce, especially after typhoons. So overall, bananas are a key pillar of the Philippine economy, driving exports, rural employment, and development. So these native bananas are commonly sold in farmers' markets in their natural form, with the peels with blemishes, as you can see, and many local consumers even perceive blemished bananas to be sweeter and tastier than those with smooth and marked skins. So those are their perceptions. So these characteristics also reflect the growing environment of our native bananas, one that supports biodiversity, coexisting alongside with the crop. Bananas are deeply embedded in the Filipino culture and tradition, and this crop is celebrated across the country through vibrant local festivals to highlight the diversity, its cultural significance, and the economic importance of this crop. This is one of the many ways that we can help safeguard the native varieties and ensure their availability and relevance for future generations. So to those of you who are interested to try the Philippine Saba, the Philippine Lakatan, the Philippine Latundan, or any of the varieties that I just presented, maybe of different names in your own country, please feel free to contact PBGEA or yours truly, and we can help you connect with the right growers and suppliers. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gaudencia, for this excellent presentation and for sticking to the time. I must confess, I'm very tempted to try all those bananas. Thank you for highlighting not only the agronomic importance of those bananas for Philippines, but also the economic, nutritional, and cultural value of these varieties in the Filipino culture. I also found very interesting the different uses, no, not only of the fruit, but also of the leaves, of the banana stems. So I think you are doing a great job there. I would like to ask again the attendees to place their questions in the Q&A tab. And I'm aware of the time, so I would like to pass in the agenda to the next panelist. I would like to introduce Dr. Selvarajan. He is the director of the National Research Center for Banana under the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR. He has more than 30 years of experience within ICAR and has extensively worked in banana improvement, disease management, biotechnology, and the conservation and promotion of banana diversity in India. So welcome, Dr. Selvarajan. Today he will present banana genetic diversity to strengthen market opportunities in India. Please, you have the screen.
Thank you, Matthews, for introduction. I would like to now just share my presentation. Is it visible?
Not yet. It's still loading on my end. Now, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I am going to present harnessing banana genetic diversity to strengthen market opportunities in India. And India stands #1 in the world in the terms of area and as well as production with 38.32 million tons. And in fact, the productivity has doubled in the last 3 decades in India. That's because of adoption of tissue cultured bananas and also the adoption of Cavendish, especially grandine bananas, which we grow. And we have now export in India. Bananas became #1 fruit, highly exported and more value, and it has surpassed the grapes. And almost 7 times more export has happened in the past 7 years. And that it is ever expanding, and our export also is expanding. And coming to the exploration and germplasm conservation, we have 393 indigenous successions conserved in the field as well as in vitro, besides 117 exotic accessions of different genomic groups. And if you look at the origin of banana is, northeastern hill states of India also one of the origins for banana, and where 87 wild taxons are present, both acuminata as well as Balbisiana, including 2 species of Encite, it's being present in these hill states. And besides, we have in other parts of India also, including Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And I have given here the distribution of different species of banana. And in some of the states, like in Arunachal Pradesh, we have some exclusive banana, like, Musa Arunachalensis. And there are many Puspanjaliye, Musa Puspanjaliye, like, Alfred Joe and Sabu, they have documented our Indian bananas very nicely, and they have given the origin of different species. And here you can see the cultivated bananas distribution in the southern and subtropical region of India. These are all the cultivated bananas in India. And I have given here some of the wild species which is present in India, like Musa nagaensium with imbricate, bracts. You can see here Musa velutina, Marukuana. This is the one with a bit of hairy structures on the fruits. Then Musa chismeni is one widely present in Arunachal Pradesh. Then Musa sikkimensis, it's widely present in the Sikkim state of India. Then Musa itinerans, this male bud of this particular species is being widely consumed as a culinary purpose in Arunachal Pradesh. Musa swarnapalya is akin to Musa chismeni. Then again, Musa latrita is again an ornamental banana. It's widely present in India. Musa rosaceae, Musa runciaca in Arunachal Pradesh is widely present. Even it is there in Sikkim. Musa velutina is one which it's a negatively geotrophic banana with very good attractive red color fruits. Then Musa puspanjali, it's very hard banana and having almost a quite good number of seeds here. Musa flaviflora, Musa ornata, and another ornamental banana with a good flower, colored flower, and Musa acraceae. Then Encite species, we have Encite glaucum and Encite superbum. And of course, one more species which is present in Ethiopia, Encite ventricosum, we do not have in India. Then traditional wealth of banana, which you look at in Tamil Nadu, different states, we grow around 8 varieties widely, but otherwise more than 15 varieties are being grown in Tamil Nadu. Kerala is another southern part of India where plantain mendran, French plantain mendran is widely cultivated, and also it is being consumed, these plantains. Then in Andhra Pradesh, a Tellachigakali, a triple A cultivar is widely preferred banana. In Bihar, Chinia banana is very famous. In Assam, if you look at the bulbicina bananas like Bhimkol, Bijikela, and a triple A banana called Bharat Muni, also widely grown. And Sabari is a silk type banana which is present in Tripura. It's an eco type. Then similarly in Odisha, Patkapura, Chini Champa are widely grown bananas. Of course, I did not mention the granite banana which is widely grown. Of course, it is not origin. India is not origin of that banana. Then you can see the plantain and Neipuvan is a diploid banana. Then you have got silk. We have got a Rastali silk. And pain is a unique banana which is present only in India. And it has got a unique medicinal properties. Manoranjam is a banana which emits aroma upon ripening. Red banana is a unique type. Chellachikarakeli, which I was talking about, triple A type, of course, susceptible for race 1. And Matti is a very interesting banana which is grown on the southern tips of Tamil Nadu. Then we have released 6 varieties from National Research Center for Banana ICAR. Udayam is a pisang avak type which yields more than 50 kg bunches. And this is very suitable for dehydrated banana fruit, that is a fig, banana fig we call. Kaveri Sabha, Kaveri Harita, Kaveri Kalki, and Kaveri Sugandham is an aromatic banana. All this has got climate resilience bananas which we have raised in the past 8 years. Then Kaveri Vaman is a dwarf banana of granite, which is 60 centimeter dwarfer than granite banana, and which can be used for even roof garden purpose. And also a 10% yield, it is lesser than granite, but it's good one. And we have also got a granite mutant, that is we have got mutant, gamma irradiated mutants, which is field performance. We could see that it is doing much better than granite, and it is in Gujarat state where the tropical race 4 is very rampant there. And low glycemic banana, that is pisang lilin, also widely cultivated in Kerala, one of the states in India. A Kaveri Puvan banana which we released recently for the cultivation. This is banana stick Mysore virus free, and it does not, the integrated sequence does not produce the virus spontaneously because the integrated structure is quite different. This is 20 years we took to select this particular clone. Then coming to the hybridization, we got till date 6 varieties we have released in India. In 1985, we released Co1, followed by BRS1, BRS2 from Kerala. It's 100 immune to the leaf spot disease, BRS1. Then Co2, Co3 is akin to Naipuvan and Pisang Awak, also using the hybridization program. And at NRC Banana, we have released a Kaveri Kanchan. This is Nendran into cultivar rose. And this a plantain type converted into a desert type. So it ripens, when it turns yellow, it ripens. Whereas plantain, we have to cook and we have to eat because the starch conversion to simple sugars is it takes more time in plantain. And we have also some clones which are in the pipeline for release. A provitamin A rich banana here in NRCB selection 16. Then again, we have a plant. This is a palm type banana which is high yielding, leaf spot resistant. Then another, this is an exotic one, that is CIAT 75. It's also performing well and now under pipeline. And we have also developed many diploids and tetraploids for further breeding purpose, having resistance to Cicatoca, Fusarium. And we have also Naipuvan tetraploid. Yeah, it's a pollen fertile. Otherwise, Naipuvan diploid is not fertile. Then tetraploid cultivar rose we have developed. And also we have developed a bean called tetraploid, and this all will be deploying for breeding purpose. Then we have many progenies, hybrid progenies, which is resistant to FOC race 1. And this we have screened in hotspots in Bihar. And there are many good varieties which we have with us now. And we have screened 277 accessions for tropical race 4 in Bihar. And interestingly, we got many AAA clones, Jahaji, Bharat Munim, Bar Jahaji, Man Jahaji, and the Lakatan type which we have with us, and Madhukar. These are all found resistant to tropical race 4. Then we also have PVA fortified banana in hybrids. And you can see the a very good high provitamin A content bananas. And we also got, as I said, the Nendran. And we also got a high starch content banana. Each fruit weighs around 500 gram. And this is highly suitable for flour making. And we have also got in our breeding from bean cow like plant and Cavendish like bananas we got in our breeding program, and Pisang Awak like bananas we got in our breeding program. And interestingly, we made a lot of crosses. We came out with 12 promising ornamental bananas also, while crossing Musa ornata with Rubra, Musa ornata with Zebrina, and Musa Rubra with Zebrina. So we got very good, quite different colored petal with the negatively geotrophic flower, and also the leaf, different colored leaves we got. And we have Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Rights Authority, Government of India. We had to register any varieties which is being maintained by a farmer or any associations, so that that association or who are all protecting these bananas would be getting economic benefit, and the society will get benefited. So till date, 9 such bananas have been registered under this act. And the NRC banana helps the individual farmers as well as the associations in registering these special bananas being maintained by the farming community. And geographical indications bananas are, there are 107 agricultural crops being GI tagged, and of which 8 bananas are GI tag it has got, and it's a unique type and eco type. When you grow only in that particular locations, you get a special character. Chengalicodon is a plantain type, what you see here. And Kamalapur red is another, which is grown in the Karnataka. And again, this is a Nanjangud Rasbale, then Jalgaon banana. This is also very important. It's a Cavendish actually. And we have also Virupakshi and Sirumalai. These are palm type bananas, which is grown in the hills but highly susceptible to wilt disease, wilt, and also banana bunchy top. But this has got a special flavor and aroma when you grow in a high altitudes. And Mindoli is grown in Goa. It's another plantain type. It has got a 31 degree breaks. Normally plantains used to have 24 to 26 breaks, but this has got more breaks. And matti is really a banana, good banana for weaning food for the babies. And recently it has got, in 2023, it has got the GI tag, grown in the Kanyakumari districts of Tamil Nadu. And we have developed more than 60 value-added products at NRC Banana, and the banana, the flour-based products and fruit products, and again central core stem products we have developed, and 60 products which we have transferred the technology to. More than 200 entrepreneurs have taken the technologies from us, and they are doing for many self-help groups and farmers producers companies. They are depending, they have taken our technologies, and they are making generating income out of that. The chips, which that it can be made from plantains and it can be made from granule, and we have developed a low fat chips technology from different varieties, and there are special varieties from Kerala also. We have commercialized this technology to 15 entrepreneurs. Similarly, banana flour we have commercialized to 65 entrepreneurs in India, and now banana flour is being exported also. Besides, about bean coal, it's a Balbisiana banana which contains very good fructans, and this particular banana this flour could be mixed with the rice flour and as well as milk. Then you can develop a very good nutraceutical food, which are all being utilized by the for food for especially children. Then banana central core stem juice has got medicinal properties and anti-lithiatic properties it has got. So kidney stones could be the issues can be resolved using drinking this central core stem juice, and also pickles are made. 27 entrepreneurs have taken license. And banana fiber, now the government of India is giving importance to banana fiber, and we are going to new age natural fibers. This banana is going to give a more importance. A lot of the including textiles we have started doing now, and more than 23 people we have given the technology to extract the fiber, and which is being utilized for many product development. And the dehydrated banana is very important. Solar dehydrated banana, Udayam, that's a pisang avak, Kaveri Kalki pisang avak group could be utilized, including Neipuvan bananas can be utilized for this fig making. And pickling, for that we have got a special bananas called Muntan, Nendran, Robusta and Puvan. And this is a Mysore type. And this technology also we have transferred. And besides what I was talking about, the beam coal, Atia coal, Balbisian and BB types contains very good quantity of fructans. That is a resistant fiber which is present in the pulp, and flavonoids. So this is being encouraged to develop very good nutraceuticals. And again, anthocyanin extracted from the bracts, which could be infused in the central core stem juice, and this acceptability is more. And this also we have made a value addition. And we could able to see the flavonoids and fructans in a different banana cultivars from northeastern hill states, and we could see that BB clones contains very good fructans as well as flavonoids. So from the peel as well as fructans in the pulp. So this has got a lot of value as a food, and the tertiary market it could be utilized. And anthocyanin pigment extracted from granule flower bracts could be infused in the banana squash, and you can see the acceptability is very high compared to banana squash alone. So this is another value addition which can utilize the bracts. And banana leaf in India, especially southern parts of India, we use as a food plate. And banana we use instead of polythenes and other things which could not be degraded. This is a biodegradable plates which could be used, and Puvan, Monthan, Katpuravalli, Ilavalai. These are all highly suitable for this banana leaf industry. This is again more than 1,000 crore worth of industries going on here. And you can see here the bananas being sold in northeastern area, in Tamil Nadu, in again Kerala, where banana is very, very important for India, and it gives a good income to the resource poor farmers, and also the consumers. If you look at 140 crores of people in India, they consume at least a banana in a day. And I thank the ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, Department of Science and Technology, IATA and CGIAR and Alliance Bioversity and CIAT for joining hands with us to develop a lot of technologies and bring. And in fact, I would like to say we have another genome-edited 4 clones. We have developed genome-edited bananas for resistant to FOC and as well as Secretarial leaf spot. We have got good results now, which expands our diversity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Selvarajan, for this very rich presentation that cover so many topics, from the wide species of Musa in India, the wonderful varieties of your traditional bananas, your work on improvement of climate resilient bananas, the geographical indications, the different uses from the different types, clones and varieties. You talk about TR4, bananas for flower, dried banana, ornamental. I think was also very interesting the registration of those bananas so the profit can support the farmer communities. I think is an approach that the other countries has a lot to learn, and the value addition products, no, from fiber to pickles, I think was a excellent presentation and very rich. So thank you very much. I'm aware of the time because we're slightly behind on the agenda. So I would like to directly invite our next panelist. It's an honor for us to welcome you, Mr. Claudio FInol. He is currently the Chief Innovation and Strategy Officer at Fyffes, with more than 20 years of leadership experience in Middle East, Europe, Africa, Latin America, and North America, with expertise in innovation, sustainability, and packaging development. So from the research side, we will move now to the private sector, and I would like to welcome you to talk about the challenges and opportunities of diversifying banana markets. Please, Mr. Claudio, you have the screen. Would you like us to share the presentation, or would you like
I
to
think
share?
it's, yeah, you can share it. I think it's probably less risky. Good. Thank you. So I'll try to move as fast as I can, right, to make up with the time. But I think it's quite interesting. Then I think it was very interesting presentation. I like to try to provide more the side of the producer, and I think I have no challenge on the fact that that increasing the genetic diversity is quite critical. I also don't think that the issue is on the scientific or maybe the process side to achieve this, or the varieties that are in the market, right? I mean, even if it's challenging or not, I think that probably the biggest challenge to increase that diversity lies more on the on the fact of that it's difficult to capture the value in the market of those varieties. I think this is probably the pivotal issue around this, right? And I'll try to provide a little bit more perspective to this, and happy to be challenged and have a debate in the Q&A, right? So if we move to the next slide, no surprise in there. I think 95% is really Cavendish, right? And it's quite interesting to see that it's the same box, you know, that you would find in Rotterdam or you would find in any other port like Hamburg, and it's also the same variety that is probably in any farm in Colombia or Philippines, and they all reach the same markets here, right, in Europe and North America. And I think this is basically understandable, right? I mean, we have reached a variety that is very competitive, that has probably tick a lot of boxes when it comes to supply chain, consumer acceptance, and so on. But of course, it adds a lot of pressure, right? Because it brings a lot of pressure into the system, because it brings all this risk about disease resilience or climate resilience, or this dependency to chemicals that is becoming more and more challenging, also linked to the regulatory challenges or cost. But, you know, from a sensory diversity of nutritional diversity, it really, you know, it doesn't add much more, right? So I think if we move to the next one, the interesting thing of the one variety or one clone component is probably it has the advantages, or it's both the blessing, but it's also the curse. And I think it's the blessing because it's almost like a perfect system, right? And so everything it's already kind of developed for this variety. It has the predicted ripening or predictable ripening, the green life that we can all handle. Is almost optimized for the markets that it serves, right? But of course, it is, that sources of advantages is also the source for the vulnerability, right? And we already talked about the tier 4, which is then the fundamental risk, but other things like Black Sigatoka that I think if you ask any farmer, of course, not in the areas affected by tier 4, any farmer will tell you that Black Sigatoka is really the biggest threat they are facing, right? It's a war that started with the first leaf, but it ends with the crop, with the harvest, and is, I think when I started in the industry, probably we were talking about maybe one or two fumigation cycles per week, and now in a lot of in a lot of farms in areas like in Costa Rica, it's on the third, on the fourth, and so that comes to a cost of maybe 10-20% of any farm cost. So it's significant. It's also a big important threat because from a regulatory component, we have no other tools to fight this disease. And there are also other threats, of course, important depending on the regions like Moco or other things. And I think as we talk about the vulnerability and also almost the trap, right? As it is really everything, all the infrastructure is developed around that variety. It makes it very difficult for the new variety to come in. So it makes it expensive. It makes it complicated for a new variety to come in. Everything that poses a challenge on ripening, anything that poses a challenge on the green life makes it also very expensive. We have had, and I'm sure that other players have had lots of experience bringing new varieties. And it's very difficult because either the ripeners kill it because it adds an extra day, or it's very difficult to control the ripening, or consumers do not tolerate the scarring or all these type of topics that are linked to probably the infrastructure that has developed for this specific variety. So if we move to the next slide, I would say that this is probably the biggest challenge of the system, right? So it's really, to me, the pivotal issue. If you look in there, the price of bananas or Cavendish bananas across maybe 2 or so decades, and if you look at if you would plot the same graph but linked to inflation, you would see completely different area, and it's really limited variance, right? And so that's the reality that cost comes up around any production, inflation comes up, and we are not able to recover all this cost on price. And the reality is that any investment in a very low margin industry is very difficult to defend, right? And especially when there's a high risk to extracting the value at the end of the discussion, right? So if you move to the next one, I think the opportunity, of course, is really that, and some of the previous discussions were around this, that there's an opportunity to really generate partnerships here, because we do have already existing varieties, but I think we not only need to train key players like in the ripening areas, but also critically consumers as well. That is also quite an important component to this. I think the experiments that we've seen in the markets is consumers reject other varieties that are not existing varieties. and for many different reasons. So we might even need to start by how to call it, training consumers, but also from the point of view of more resistant varieties or consumer facing new varieties is also quite an investment and a long-term challenge, right? So let's move to the next one. And the technology, for example, if it comes from a completely new journey, right? If it's about creating a resistant variety, of course, you'll have incredible new technologies that, as Mr. Carpentier was saying, that they are really now almost, how to call it, the competition is such that maybe have decreased significantly the cost, but still there's a regulatory issue around it that makes, the timelines, also the regulatory timelines, such a long process, right? And it's still the fact that, for example, GMO or gene editing is seen as the same thing in Europe. And I understand that there's a law in the scope, in the discussion, but it's still not there, right? So you have regulatory entry challenges. If you look into the bottom, what I'm talking about, there's, you still need to plant the fruit and have a few cycles. And then there's still the biggest challenge if it really meets the market requirements, being ripening, being supply chain, being green life, and also sensory and consumer acceptance, right? And if the buyer, being the shopper or the customer, is not able to, use the price to really recover this investment, we have lost an incredible cycle, right? So it's quite a big challenge in an industry like ours. If you move to the next one, and I think, of course, if it's about a new variety, it's quite interesting that we really find solutions for agronomic value. So really all these diseases that are really affecting our farms, our farmers. But it would be interesting to find this other side of the value, right? If we can have taste, nutrition, also novelty, and acceptance from consumers. I think the key is to meet them both. And that is really the biggest challenge that we face, right? But of course, very hard to reach. If we move to the next one, I think then, how do you do it from a low margin type of company? Are you going to invest in 5-10 years journey of developing something new? And I'm not saying that we're not doing it, and a lot of players are doing it, versus perhaps building a brand that can maybe serve a more ESG purpose. And that's also it doesn't change the genetics, it doesn't change the variety, but it brings to the market another proposition that perhaps can fund some of the ESG activities that Fyffes is doing, right? So it's a partnership between consumers that are able to also feel part of the funding of these activities, like empowering women or supporting communities, but also an opportunity to invite retailers or customers to do that, right? So there's always this debate between, should we look into long-term investment on new varieties versus should we invest in still a long-term, perhaps less of a longer term, into differentiation that is able to help us to capture the value in the equation. If you go to the next one. So I think, and I tried to capture a few elements here that I think are important also for the World Banana Forum. of course, science is essential, right? I mean, I think technologies are there. Technologies are probably in the beginning of really the stage of being able to be used in a cost-effective way um, for this field. I think also as the panelist from Leuven was explaining, I think it's also quite important to say that also the fundamental research is quite advanced in there, which is really key foundational elements to do this. But I think the World Banana Forum plays an important role into allowing science to be accessible for players, right? Because we cannot do this alone. And I think this dynamic biosecurity is quite important, and I think this is the role as well that the World Banana Forum is doing to guaranteeing also a certain level of knowledge and experience across the different regions to make sure that organization in each country plays, put an importance emphasis on this area. And then I think it's important that organization like ours, but other organizations can still finance some of or co-invest some of these type of journeys. And I think the message is as well, if we are not able to recover the price of all of this poses an existential threat to this business, right? To this as an agro business. And in the reality, it's not only bananas, it's many, many different crops, right? So I think this is quite important that consumers not only need to understand, not only consumers, but also customers, retailers need to understand the true value of a crop, the importance of the crop, the importance as it is for the livelihoods of many, many different people across the chain. And it has a value, and it's important to preserve the value, not only to guarantee the wellness of the different people in the industry, but also the preservation of that industry towards the future. I think I will pose that. I'm happy to take any questions as well, depending on how you want to manage now or later in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Claudio, FInol. Regarding the questions, I'm afraid we are a bit behind on the agenda, so we will skip the question and answers session that was planned for now, but I will invite again all the attendees to post their questions in our Q&A tab, so the panelists can reply to those. And in case, you can also write the WBF Secretariat with additional questions, and we will be happy to forward to the panelists and then to the audience. So thank you very much, Claudio, for your presentation and bringing the perspective of one of the leading organizations in the global banana market. I think it's very important, on how we can lend all this knowledge, all this to the global value chains. I think was very interesting the points that you raised, especially regarding the cost to redesign the value chains. In order to bring a new variety, we would be need to a huge investment in ripening stations, in the logistics, and for what I understand, is still not these costs are still not rewarded, by the industry. So we would not need to create pathways in order to achieve that. I also found very interesting what you comment about lower prices as barriers to varietal innovation. I think there is no margins enough, perhaps, so the companies can invest on not only varietal, but also other innovations. And also, you raised the issue regarding market acceptance, challenges in the process of designing or developing a new variety, and also the consumers and the retailers, their awareness and they're willing to pay for this new variety. So I think your messages were very interesting, very clear, and I would like also to rescue what you say about the cooperation in order to have a co-investment and perhaps dilute these risks, and then together the industry could avoid this existential threat and innovate along itself. So thank you very much, Claudio. And as I mentioned, I'm aware of the time. So now, before we pass to our next panelist, I would like to pass the floor to Adriele Benedetto, my colleague from the Secretariat, that will moderate this second block of presentations. Adriele, please, you have this.
Thank you, Mateus, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to moderate the rest of this discussion. So after a private sector perspective, we'll move back to a research perspective. Let me introduce you our next panelist, Dr. Enny Sudarmonowati, which currently serves as Senior Researcher and Research Professor at the National Research and Innovation Agency, BRIN, of Indonesia. With extensive expertise in plant biotechnology, molecular biology, and genetic resources, she actively contributes to research on genetic transformation, molecular characterization, and the conservation and use of plant genetic resources, which support crop improvement and agricultural biodiversity research in Indonesia. So we're very happy to have you, and the floor is yours, Dr. Enny.
Thank you, Adriele. Can I just share from my side?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. I want to make it the slideshow. Why I cannot make it?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's the button where you had your mouse on. I think that's the one to put it full screen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is a pleasure to share with you in the next 10 minutes regarding banana biodiversity diversity in Indonesia, linking traditional varieties to food system. Just very briefly, I would like to introduce Indonesian traditional varieties, why it's important, and also the traditional uses in various regions of Indonesia, potential of new breeding, new varieties, and research conducted, strategy to contribute to production system, and finally, take-home message, closing statement. For the introductions, we all are aware of the risk of monoculture, like Sebastien already mentioned earlier. So we need to develop Indonesian traditional banana varieties. The monoculture risk worsened by the problem faced like climate change, soil degradations, and devastating diseases like TR4. Everybody mentioned about that. And the functional roles of the traditional varieties, of course, is very important. More than 17,000 islands spread in Indonesia, spread in 38 provinces, combined with ethnobotany, 1,300 ethnic groups of Indonesia. Indonesia divided into 3 time zones. The western part of Indonesia here consists of 21 provinces, unique for local varieties like pisang barangan. Barangan is like maybe lakatan in the Philippines. Raja, Kidang, Gendruwo, Tanduk, and pisang mas, and others. This is just to list among others. And then in the central parts of Indonesia, this one in the middle, 9 provinces, the famous local varieties like pisang susu Bali, West Nusa Tenggara, Goroho, and others. And well, in the eastern part of Indonesia, including Papua, Halmahera, famous for the pisang mulut bebek, like the duck beak, in Ternate and Kepok, Papua, and Asar. So in the next 4 slides, I'm going to share with you. I just summarize in the table, otherwise it will be taking a lot of time. So it's just to give you example, our favorite 12 varieties. It categorized into table banana, cooking banana, and dual purpose banana. The first one, I'm not going to go into detail each one. The pisang Raja Bulu is not just because it's delicious, but also for the ritual or cultural events, especially in Java and Bali, and also pisang Raja Serai and others. Well, pisang kapas, pisang kepok kuning, kepok maybe like Sabah in the Philippines, pisang uli and pisang nangka. This is the duck beak, the internate, because it's the form of the fruits like this, like duck beak, and then the pisang goroho in North Sulawesi, tongkat langit, because of the bunch orientations is different, and the grundwo is actually also related to mystical or cultural. That's why in Indonesia, I mentioned with the ethnobotanical things, it's very interesting, not just for food, but also for other things. And we have the kidang merah, raja udang, and susu, pisang susu merah. And the final one I mentioned in here, I summarized pisang tanduk, is the plantain. So the use of fresh fruit and our traditional delicacy like this, in addition to chips or crisps, and also cultural events in Javanese and in Bali, we use several varieties of pisang, and we summarize in here based on Kennedy 2009. It's not just the traditional varieties, but also the wild species. We use the leaves, sap, whole plants, even fruits, leaves, a lot of leaves, of course, we use, and then also the stems, pseudo-stems, and immature seeds, mostly for wrapping and also for offering. And we still use it in our daily life in here, not just the traditional varieties, but also the wild species here, and also including the ornamental plants like the Selvarajan already mentioned in India, and also right now we still use for Thanksgiving ritual in East Java. The pisang seribu, the thousands pisang, and also pisang lilin we have in here, just to summarize some of them. And we produced, we already registered the plant variety protections under LIPI's name. That's before LIPI merged to BRIN, the National Research and Innovation Agency. So we already produced a lot of hybrids. And the importance of the local banana also for the resistant to TR4 or Fusarium, like pisang rejang found in Sumatra, and pisang bile common in West Nusa Tenggara province. And in South Sulawesi, we have male butlers, kepok, like Sabah. And this one also very interesting with long bunch. So it's resistant to blood disease. I summarize here also the potential and also related to the market segmentations, and what kind of traditional varieties in here. I listed, I'm not going to mention each one, and also for not just for disease resistant, but also for environmental windbreak and others. This also the potential of traditional varieties, like I mentioned already several times, the pisang mulut bebek in Halmahera and pisang lampenang. We developed the traploid banana lines from promising Indonesian varieties, and also the elite banana clones for industry. And next August, we're going to do another expedition to Halmahera in the eastern part of Indonesia to collect pisang mulut bebek, but also for collecting other wild species. We also develop the diploid versus tetraploid for pisang mas jambe, and also for klutuk sukun. You can see the difference between the diploid and the tetraploid, not just on the fruit shape, but also the color for the carotenoid content, but also the leaf orientation or leaf architecture. And here also the for global market for export, like pisang raja, pisang mas lady, pisang mas kirana or lady finger, pisang kepok, and pisang barangan, native to Sumatra. That's why it's very unique. That's why we're going to promote also pisang barangan. As Dr. Selvarajan already mentioned, in India, we also develop value-added products. Yeah, so certain province in South Sumatra, it's very famous, almost the whole city for their banana chips. For supporting the production system, I divided into three categories in here. Optimizing farming system via agroecology of banana based on target product profile that we already conducted, and the supply chain integration for national and international markets, and policy, micropropagation, and sustainable scale. I'm going to discuss each one of these. I don't know why I cannot move now. Sorry. It's wrong. I think I have to. Okay. So for the agroecology, we been practicing intercropping and agroforestry, for example, like planting shade-tolerant pisang mas under coconut or rubber trees, and now like oil palm plantation to maximize land equivalent ratios. For disease management systems, we implement disease-resistant traditional cooking bananas like pisang kepok untis sayang with susceptible desert varieties to slow down the field-wide spread of airborne or soil-borne pathogen. And for climate resilience, we plant natural drought tolerance of bee genome heavy varieties, kepok Sabah, especially to plant in the drier region of Indonesia, in the eastern part of Indonesia, like East Nusa Tenggara province. Well, for supply chains, national and international markets. So for national food security, we've been decentralizing production system by encouraging backyard and smallholder cultivation of traditional varieties to ensure immediate carbohydrate and micronutrient availability for rural communities. For international niche market, scaling up the production of clean tissue culture traditional varieties like pisang barangan. I'm going to show you in the next slide the role of private sector to develop pisang barangan through tissue culture. And also industrial processing infrastructure, structuring the production system around contract farming, where smallholders grow traditional cooking banana directly. Well, for policy and micropropagation and sustainable scale, as I mentioned earlier, tissue culture implementation, resolving the primary bottleneck of traditional varieties to produce, the bottleneck is actually unclean, disease-carrying sucker to produce clean or sterile and low-cost tissue culture labs. Well, the government support framework, of course, to align a local farming system with the Indonesian Ministry of Agriculture initiative that incentivize the conservation of native germplasm through active commercial farming, including altogether hand-in-hand with BRIN. This is the program developed by Ministry of Agriculture of Indonesia for One Village, One Variety. And especially for banana, we've been establishing banana village for One Village, One Variety. And one selected sub, special agriculture product from Indonesia is lady finger banana. And these are new released 4 varieties, Kepok Tanjung, Ketan 01, Sang Mulyo Ina 03, it's because of the superiority of, for example, tolerant to fusarium wilt, dual purpose, early maturing, tolerant mostly for fusarium wilt and blood disease. And then because Indonesia is very large, so for geographical demographic purpose and also income, psychographics and behavior. So we then also did the market segmentation and target product profile. This one supported or together with IATA. We did that, and just give the example of several groups of desert banana, dual purpose, and plantain. So we already produced the TPP for that, while the market segmentations mostly to Japan, to Singapore, and to China. And as a previous speaker already mentioned, the importance of collaborations, I also put the graphs here to link the stakeholders. For example, the central government or relevant ministries, local governments, BRIN and research institution, other research institutions, although BRIN is now the only research institution in Indonesia, and universities, farmers, communities, and private sectors. Private sectors, not just for large-scale production, but also production supporting the budget. So these three, I put very left here, the company in West Java, also producing Cavendish, but also other local varieties. While in the center here, the largest company in Indonesia, the Great Giant Food, in the past the name is Great Giant Pineapple, to produce Cavendish also, while the very right here, PT Hijau Surya, focusing more on Barangan and other local varieties as the mother stock from the tissue culture. So we are very lucky to visit the labs. They are very open to us. So this is also, I want to show you the role of the private sector to produce superior cultivars or varieties, like the Great Giant Pineapple already produced 5 superior varieties that already registered, resistant to Fusarium and also Moko disease, the Rastonia cause disease. Of course, to develop the traditional varieties, we have to also involve the subspecies, the wild species, as this map already showed by Sebastien, that we are also the center of origin of banana. We have 16 subspecies of species of banana. Of course, we're going to now already work very intensively on that. So potential species like Gaudencia is indicated that it's partial parthenocarpy, and also the taste, and also the very low susceptibility to finger drop. Yeah, so this one is very nice, and also the beta carotene content, and long buds and buds orientations for Musa acuminata subspecies sumatrana on the left and Gaudencia on the right. Take-home message, the Indonesian banana, of course, a lot of resources, but more to work requires a comprehensive study of its potential from diversity, cultivation to production and market system. I'm going to show you, this one is my last slide, our intensive work on wild banana of Indonesia, collaborating with 7 countries. With the collections on the left, and then characterizations, pre-breeding to produce 5 superior traits. We hope that we're going to produce this one by the end of 2028, supported by CIAT Foundation, also BRIN and our trust fund. So thank you very much. Gracias. Merci beaucoup. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much, Dr. Enny, for the valuable insights and for basically opening the box to the incredible diversity of wild, edible, dessert cooking bananas existing in Indonesia as a center of origin for bananas, and all the different uses, nutritional traits, the different parts of the plants which are getting also used for other reasons. And just some messages that I also rescued from the presentation, this ideal production system. I think I really enjoyed this framework, first optimizing farming systems with agroecology, with intercropping production systems, genetic barriers against diseases, then also boosting the supply chains locally and for international markets, and also the importance of policy and of mastering the art of tissue culturing and propagation to avoid also disease spread. And so I'll move to the next panelist just because of time constraints, but thanks again for your participation today.
Thank you.
So I'll continue now with Dr. Robuni Tuhimbize, who currently serves as Director of Research at the National Agricultural Research Organization of Uganda, NARO. He's a crop scientist with 15 years of experience in agricultural research and development, working on cassava, cocoyam, banana, and tea. After completing his PhD in plant breeding, he joined the National Banana Research Program of NARO as a banana breeder, and he later led a research team that released 5 superior cooking banana varieties, which are currently being promoted across East Africa. So we're very happy to have you with us today, Dr. Robuni. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share. Let me share.
Great, thanks.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, our moderators. As already introduced, my name is Robuni Tuhimbize. I work with the National Agricultural Research Organization of Uganda as a Director of Research, and I'm a Senior Plant Breeder. The topic I'm presenting to you is banana genetic diversity as a driver of resilient banana production in East Africa. An overview of the overview of the Great Lakes region of Africa, banana production in East Africa. Actually, the topic I have is about the genetic diversity of bananas in East Africa. But traditionally, East Africa is comprised of 3 countries: Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. But the East African region has expanded boundaries. We now have Rwanda, Burundi, as the other East African countries that we have in the Great Lakes region of East Africa. We grow a diversity of bananas, including the East African highland bananas, including plantains, including the juice or beer type of bananas that we shall be looking at. So by way of introduction, banana is the most important food crop grown in worldwide, as you are aware. And the Great Lakes region of East Africa is among the top 5 global producers of bananas. And we grow bananas on an estimated acreage of 4 million hectares. In the East African region, Uganda leads production of bananas. Actually, we have a diversity of bananas that we shall be looking at as we move forward. And why do farmers in the East African region grow bananas? We grow bananas primarily to provide food because of the growing demand for food. And there are other associated benefits that include provision of the much needed jobs. We have, in East African region, we have scarcity of jobs, but the banana production in the region provides the much needed jobs to raise our incomes and to provide agro-industrial raw materials that include starch and fibers for the upcoming agro-industries. The Great Lakes region of East Africa is a host of a massive secondary center of banana diversity. And in the region, the predominant banana production is on the East African highland bananas. But in addition to the East African highland bananas, we have other types of bananas that include the desert bananas, that include the plantains, among others. 80% of the bananas that we grow in the East African region are the East African highland bananas that are endemic to this region. Actually, the East African region is referred to as the secondary center of diversity for the East African highland bananas, because we know the primary center is in Asia. It is in Asia, but the East African highland bananas have evolved in the region, in the East African region, and as a result, we have the secondary center of diversity. Allow me also to mention that despite the importance of bananas in the East African region, their productivity or production, let me focus on the productivity, is as low as 5 to 10 tons per hectare per year compared to their potential that ranges from 60 to 70 tons per hectare, because of the challenges that we'll talk about as we move forward. And we, as a result of the challenges that I will talk about, we are building resilience against those shocks by having a diversity of bananas on farm. This is a typical banana plantation in the East African region. I come from Uganda, and Uganda being my home country, I feel I may appear selfish because of what I know much about Uganda. This is a typical banana plantation in Uganda. And when you look at it, you will see a diversity in terms of heights of plants, diversity in terms of colors, and a diversity of many other traits. This is a typical banana plantation, but predominantly this is East African highland bananas. But when you go close, you go inside the banana plantation, you find a diversity of other banana types, which we are going to look at as we move forward. When you look at this slide, you see a diversity of banana types by color, by the way the bunches are packed. So we have a diversity of bananas, and this diversity is, if I put them into categories, right here we have, on the left-hand side, we have the desert bananas, the red bogoya, Gros Michel, these are Cavendish. Then we have Scalindis, this is the apple banana. Then in the middle, we have Tuvuvu, which is Brugo. And these are the ripe fruits of the Brugo. Then below, we have plantains. And the down extreme right, we have East African highland bananas. These East African highland bananas are very diverse by clone sets. We have five clone sets in the East African highland bananas, and these clone sets, they look different. Actually, in each of the clone sets, we have cultivars. And these are the types of bananas that predominate the East African region. So how do we classify diversity in the East African region? Before we classify, let me talk about what challenges are we safeguarding ourselves against by growing a diversity of bananas to build resilience. Number one, banana production in the East African region is affected by a number of challenges that are grouped into biotic and abiotic stresses. Under biotic stresses, we have pests and diseases. On the extreme end of this slide, we have the banana weevils, which cause holes in the pseudostems, in the stems, and the plants can not absorb water for their proper growth, and stamina. Below we have nematodes. I know you know them, but I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about them. Then as for diseases, we have a number of diseases that include Brax-Gatoka. We have fork race 1, Fusarium race 1 that affects mostly bananas that include Gros Michel, red bogoya, and the apple banana. Then on the extreme right, this country lies in the tropics, and the drought is so high, and this informs the diversity of the banana plantations, because we know the diversity of bananas respond to environmental stresses differently, below bacterial wilt. So these are the stresses that inform the diversity of the bananas that we grow on farm that I have talked about above. How do we classify banana genetic diversity in the East African region? Number one, we classify banana diversity or genetic diversity by use, how we use our bananas. When you go to our banana plantations in the East African region, we have 4 types of bananas by use. Number one, desert bananas. These are the type of bananas that we enjoy when they are ripe and they are sweet. The second category is the plantains or roasting bananas. These are the type of bananas that we enjoy when they are roasted, and mostly they constitute plantains, and these plantains mostly come from Democratic Republic of Congo. But in our banana plantations, we have a small share percentage of about 2% of the banana plantations in the country. Then we also classify diversity by use by the beer or juice type of bananas. And then we have cooking type of bananas, where we find mostly East African type of bananas. Another factor that we use in classifying diversity is by genome. We have a diversity of genomes that we grow on farm. Number one, we have AB. AB is a result of hybridization between Acuminata, Musa acuminata, and Musa barbiciana. So in that category, I gave an example of apple bananas. When you come to our banana plantations, you'll find this class of bananas. Then we have AAB. These are plantains that are roasting type of bananas. We have ABB still, it is ABBB, the Kayinja, Chivuva, and all that. Then we have Gros Michel, which is a triple A, and these are Cavendish, Gros Michel, and red bogoya. Then we have the category of triple A with the end with East Africa. These are East African Highland bananas that have triple A. Then below we have a mixture of A and B, the triple A and B, the double A's and double B's. And all these actually, most times you find them mixed up in our banana plantations, but the predominant type being the East African Highland bananas, then a few of those ones, so that we diversify the type of bananas that we grow. Then again, we classify diversity by ploid levels or chromosome sets. Again, we have diploids in our banana plantations. We have triploids and tetraploids. So when you come to the banana plantations in the East African region, you will have diversity by use, diversity by genome, and by diversity by chromosome sets. And all those actually play a role. P is associated with the drought resistance. A seems to be weaker than B in terms of drought resistance. Now, what is the relevance of the East Africans growing a diversity of cultivars on farm? Number one, we do a diversity of bananas on farm to deal with climate change adaptation. We know different genotypes respond stresses differently because of their, say, genomic constitution. I talked about B being drought resistant and A being weaker than B. So when we have a mixture of cultivars, we are guarding against climate change and we are adapting to environmental conditions. Again, diversity, we do a diversity of bananas to address the issue of pests and diseases. Different banana types or cultivars respond to diseases or pests differently. So when you come to a banana plantation in the East African region, I talked about the East African highland bananas by clone sets. They are different. So they respond to different disease pathogens, pests differently. So when a pest or a disease comes up, spreading it on the farm, it is very difficult because we have diverse genetic pools that ensure that the varieties that succumb to outbreaks can remain that way, and the other ones can fill in as the shock absorbers of the susceptible varieties. Again, we have cultivar diversity on farm for soil health resilience. These banana cultivars have different rooting systems and canopy structures which ensure or enhance the resilience of the bananas differently and can ensure health of soils as they interact in the soil. Again, the relevance of cultivar diversity on farm ensures the year-round food and income. When you have, say, banana cultivars that mature at different times, you know, today you are harvesting this, after a week you are harvesting this. And this also ensures multiple use of bananas as they are diverse on farm. Again, much as diversity on farm is important due to the benefits that we have seen, again, there is a risk or there is a negative, there is a price that you pay again by having a diversity of bananas on farm. When it comes to yield, you have an even yield of bananas on your farm, and when it comes to harvesting, you'll be harvesting differently. There is inconsistency in harvesting of your bananas because they are not ripening at the same time and not maturing at the same time. There is a problem of marketability. There is where you find clone A is commercial, but you cannot provide that much that is demanded by the market. Then there is a problem of logistical and management complexities because of different mixtures of cultivars on farm. And lastly, there is a complication of disease management. As I said before, you'll find clone A reacts differently from clone B in terms of susceptibility or resistance to pests and diseases. So you will have to apply different management options for you to be able to control diseases and pests on farm. That said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Rubuni. Very interesting presentation. Thank you for showing us the diversity of bananas in the Great Lake regions of East Africa, and very interesting perspectives on the opportunities, but also the cost of increasing genetic diversity in production systems. The time is running out. We have reached the anticipated end of the webinar, but we'll continue because we have another panelist. So we thank you for being with us and staying with us. So I'll move to the next presentation. I want to introduce Xavier Roussel, Chief Marketing and Sustainability Officer at Dole, where he has worked over 20 years. An experienced marketing and communications executive with a strong business background, he began his career in sales and operations before expanding his expertise to corporate responsibility and sustainability. So we'll conclude with this private sector perspective. Thank you for being with us, Xavier.
Thank you, Adriele. Thank you, everyone, for staying over time. Well, I don't have a presentation to share. I'd like to offer a few sort of high-level remarks. I think by now you've been stimulated by a lot of images. If you close your eyes, you see all these wonderful varieties. I was quite inspired by all the excellent presentation from my colleagues here, many of them with a scientific background. That would not be my expertise. My job is to take different varieties to market. So I'm going to take this from a very narrow marketing angle here. Many has been spoken about climate change, about adaptation. I will not go there either. So I'm really going to look at it from the consumer view, because everything we've seen is relevant, but I think the challenge we're facing is how do we take this to market? So that's the piece I'm going to address right now. I'm going to build more on what Claudio said. I think it's been said, Cavendish is the dominant variety in the market. I'm referring here to the destination market of all these export countries that we've been talking about. So it'll be the United States, the EU, Japan, Korea, these type of markets, as opposed to the local markets where this fruit is being produced and consumed. In the media, when you hear about varieties, genetics, mostly is depicted as is the industry is basically not moving much, that the industry is dragging its feet. Currently, the market is 95+% Cavendish. And so there is this perception that not enough has been done. So I'm going to share a little bit of what we at Dole have been doing. We also own a banana collection. It's several hundreds varieties, not quite as many as the colleagues from Belgium. But we have a few, they range from like varieties that do not produce fruit, that are purely ornamental flowers, right? Some of them do produce fruit, they're not eatable. Some of them produce fruit that can't be transported. And there is this last piece that do produce fruit that can be taken to market. So mostly going to be talking about that part. Today in the market, you find a handful of exotic varieties already. Pisang Mas has made its way, so sometimes referred as baby bananas. It's different names, different markets, but that's definitely one that's established. Manzanos in the US market. Reds a little bit. Pisang Awak has some market acceptance, mostly ethnic store type of channels. Burros, and then plantain, and we'll come back to the weight of these different fruits. But that's when I'm going to speak about exotic, that's the group I'm talking about. We've tried really hard over the years. We've done a lot of market study. We've taken some to market, and I'll talk about our hits and miss. The first comment I want to make is how entrenched Cavendish is. I think, right, this sort of greed aspect of it as a producer, I'll hang on to Cavendish. The reason is that the consumers want Cavendish. When you ask them, I mean, today, the consumer is very reluctant to try something different. I'm talking here about the mainstream, right? Most consumers, it raise eyebrows, questions. Cavendish have over 80% penetration. They're affordable, they're versatile. The consumer knows them. They know when to eat them. They know what they look like. So there is this familiarity that creates a barrier to entry for anybody that's trying to target this market. From the challenge piece on the exotic side, we have quite a few. I think the one thing that really is hard for exotic bananas is appearance. I think we've seen it in those pictures very clearly, that we've trained the consumer to look at that piece of fruit and it's perfectly yellow, spotless. I think there's only one example. It's the Canary Islands who've educated their consumers to a more like scarred bananas successfully and position it in a premium segment. So I think that is the main issue. And then aside from this is the fact that consumers do not understand when to eat them. It's particularly true, for example, for red bananas. You have to leave them on your kitchen table, which is going to aggravate the appearance of it, but they're better eaten when they're very, I think somebody said it a couple of times through the presentation, when they're very, like when they turn black, and then they need to stay. A red banana consumed unripe is a terrible experience. Leave it another 5 days, 7 days, it'll be a fantastic experience. It'll be the best you have. So really that right? To educate the consumer to that change, that different varieties are ripening at different points. The way they are used to eat the Cavendish today, it's a major hurdle because the learning curve is steep and long. The opportunity that we see in the market is essentially a smaller subsegment of consumer that have embraced, right? Like that have traveled, that have seen these overseas, and willing to try new things, especially when the eating experience is premium. We've done this in many different varieties. We've done this in pineapple. We've done this in grapes. Apple's done it. So there are quite a few successful examples of trading up. In the market, though, if I think of Japan, for example, the subsegment of the market that has traded up is unfortunately not exotics. It's Highland and Cavendish, which have, you know, like a better acceptance, and then have been able to receive premium pricing as opposed to exotics. So in terms of market representation, the plantains, of course, are no longer a niche products. They're high single-digit kind of market share, toward, you know, growing, like going towards more of the 10% range, especially in the US because of the immigrant population. Everything else combined, all the names that I've said earlier, they are less than 0.1% of market share at this stage. Baby bananas, the pisang mas has established itself in Europe quite a bit. I think that's definitely an asset here. It's established. Some consumers have taken it on. Manzanos are the one that's succeeding more in the US. This is a growing segment. So these are the two that have made it. Everything else is fairly marginal. The one variety that has the most potential is certainly the awak, or derivative from awak, or close by. I think currently they're only in Asian stores, but I mean, if we manage to go over the appearance and the ripening factor from eating experience, they're the one that have gained most acceptance. We've tried many different varieties over time. Neipuvan was mentioned, for example. That's one of them that I like very much. Unfortunately, it started developing seeds like the size of a coin, a fairly sizable coin, and that killed their chances to be marketed, because obviously that was cause a safety risk that we can't live with. So I think, just to wrap it up here, the option that we have is to build on these successes, these few varieties that already exist, while we continue monitoring the rest and trying to genetically improve them. To be truly successful, they would have to be similar to Cavendish in their behavior while delivering a superior eating experience, right? That's the winning formula. So you benefit from all the learning curve that has been done over the Cavendish, and then offer superior taste, and then you'll basically have like a winning strategy. There are, I mean, the traditional retail sells some of them. Specialized retail does too. I think Melissa's Produce, for example, can be praised for shipping mixed boxes of those exotic varieties through the United States. They're doing a great job of this. I've been trying to educate the consumer. It's totally unaffordable, as in for a regular purchase. I think it's tens of dollars for a box of them. I think we can partner with the retail. The idea of these partnerships still exists in the market. I think embedding them in a category instead of having them in the exotic section of the store is one important consideration. I mean, we need to, let's say, keep trying with the retail. I think the retail should feel encouraged by all the other trading up examples, and we see enough appetite for that testing. So I think we are fairly optimistic that the current fruit can grow, of course, from the market share they have today. It's a low bar. And hopefully we'll bring some new ones in the future. And I'll leave it at that. Adriele, back to you.
Thank you so much, Xavier. Very interesting reflection, and I think also very interesting how the lesson learned from the consumer experience with Cavendish, and the fact that it's been trained and its perception has been shaped by campaigns, and also by over several years now, how we can leverage that, and how that can also shape or help guide breeding efforts towards the new varieties, plural. So thank you so much for that perspective, and also the role of retailers. which have been mentioned, which definitely need to be there to help the uptake of these new varieties. I want to thank everybody. We've reached the end of the webinar. I want to thank everybody for staying with us a couple minutes late. I want to thank all the panelists that made this possible and for the very valuable insights that they shared. I hope everybody came to understand the wealth of diversity of bananas that exists just with a few presentations. I think we have enough material to write a second fact sheet, Mateus, even 3, 4, and more. I want to thank the interpreter also for their support. They had to leave. But thanks everybody for making this event successful. We had a very well-attended event with over 250 participants consecutively. And as we usually do for our webinar, we will write a report that will be shared with the panelists for their review. And then we will publish it, as well as the recording. So all of this will be available in English and Spanish on our website. So if you've missed some bits and you would like to gain some insights from some panelists, you'll be able to consult the recording and fetch back some ideas. We want to thank you again, everybody, and we hope to continue collaborating with every single one of you for future knowledge sharing webinars and activities. Thank you so much.